Bucher, who's been covering the NBA since the early 90s, so I'm bringing Bucher back. Justin Timberlake brought Sexy back. I'm bringing Bucher back. Brought to you by Mercedes, the best or nothing. And by the way, Bukes always looks like a guy who drives one because he's always elegantly, sharply dressed. So how about this one? Interesting. Sometimes you just put a little out there in the feeding frenzy.
Yes.
So the Lakers have Giannis's brother somewhere in the organization.
Not by accident. I've seen their practices.
And Giannis mentioned yesterday something about that. What did he say?
He said, essentially, he was asked, you know, what would it be like to play with your brothers? And he said, whether it's Milwaukee or L.A., it would be great. I know our mom would love us playing together. And, of course, as soon as you say anything other than the place that you are, whoo! But the reading into it is way too much. If you look at all of the international players, and Giannis fits right into this, they don't have the American mindset. They are all, look at all of them. And I will throw it to you since you put me on the spot yesterday.
Oh, I did. The burner.
Name a single international player who has expressed dissatisfaction with where he is and has forced his way to another team. A great player. Maybe any player, but certainly a great player. You're not going to find it.
Porzingis.
But he didn't. The relationship went sour. And he actually didn't get to go where he wanted to go. And I don't know that I would put him in the category of great international players.
He's pretty darn good.
But that's not bad. That's not bad that you pulled that out.
You put me on the burner, I answer.
But,
now, I would say this. It's almost like when you're an American and you travel internationally.
Yeah.
Most Americans are on their best behavior. It's not our country.
Right.
So when European athletes come over,
sure,
they are a little more, I would say they're respectful. You're respectful when you're out of the place you grew up in.
Sure.
You travel outside the country, you say please and thank you more to be respectful to the Europeans or the Australians. And European players come over here and they respect the NBA.
If you were an American soccer player, and I don't know, I mean, Christian Pulisic is probably the closest that's come to that. But if an EPL team were to say, we want you, we're going to sign you, and we're going to build our team around you.
Yeah.
Do you think that American player would ever go, yeah, Liverpool, thanks, but I think I'd like to play for Chelsea?
No, I think
that would never happen.
No, I think it's a really interesting point that European players, listen, when you grow up in our country and you're a star at AAU, you have a sense of ownership. Like,
sure,
hey, I'm the guy, and I've been told that since 12. I'm going where I want to. I think that's a very good point by you.
Yeah. So, I mean, you look at Dirk, you look at Pau Gasol, you look at Tim Duncan, Manu, Tony, go down the line of all the great international players who have been made cornerstones on NBA teams. They're grateful that an NBA team thinks that highly of them, that they would build their team around them. The idea that they need to go to play in LA or New York or Houston simply is not in their mindset the way it is with American players.
Guy comes up to me yesterday, and I was at the gym crushing it, probably benching 500, I forget. And the guy says, hey, I got a solution to tanking. And I'm like, all right, his name was Michael. I said, throw it out there. He went on to say what a fine broadcaster I was, but let's not get into that. He said, why don't you pick a date in the season, and you don't have to disclose it to players. It's like an envelope thing, and you have a date. And whatever the standings are at that date is, it could be game 29. That is the order of your draft. Now, you think it's crazy, but we know it gets established pretty early who's bad, who's not. This way, there's no benefit last 55 games to tank. But I thought about this driving in today after my fine conversation with Michael. The fear of tanking is nonsense. It's nonsense. This has always been a league where two things happen. One, the stars end up generally from Dr. J in Philadelphia. They end up at places they want to be, and those are often more glamorous, urban, cool cities. That's just the way the league's always worked, right? It's mostly the way Kareem ends up in Los Angeles and Shaq ends up in Los Angeles. Players end up, the star players have leverage, and they use it to get where they want, regardless of where they're drafted. Secondly, it's not like the Lakers and the Celtics generally have the #1 pick. Zion does go to New Orleans, and Ja Morant does go to Memphis, and Marvin Bagley, though not playing well, did go to Sacramento. That bad front offices dictate the bottom in this league. It's not manipulating the lottery and the draft. The bad GMs stink. Cleveland, once again, stinks without LeBron.
Right.
That's not about tanking. They keep getting picks.
Right.
Is that we worry too much about this, who's going to get the #1 pick. The league gives us two things. Bad GMs and stars end up where they want to be, and we waste way too much time worrying about this stuff.
Well, I agree, because the difficulty is that when you tank, when you go deep, and this more so now than ever before, it's hard to get back up. It's hard once you get that bad. It creates a stain where any quality play, like not even the stars, just the veterans that want to be in a good situation, look at it and go, why would I go there? It's bad basketball. It's going to make me look bad. I'm still trying to play and be relevant in this league. Why would I go there? And I agree with you 100%. The other part is, like, we worry about the tanking for particular players. Well, but there's no guarantee as what those players are going to be once they get to the NBA.
Especially now, because they're all 19 when they get into the league.
Exactly. It's all on development anyway. So if you don't have a good team,
rewards better franchises.
Exactly. And so you look at look at Utah or Indiana or even Boston. None of them concertedly tanked. They weren't very good at one point, but they didn't try to just spiral to the bottom.
So which team did you just give? Boston?
Indiana, Utah, and Boston.
And by the way, which one now is the best? My opinion, Boston. Why? Because they have the better front office and the better coach.
Yes.
And that decides where you, it's not this tanking stuff.
Right.
Even Steph Curry with the Warriors and Klay Thompson are better because of the development. All their players develop.
Right. Yes. Well, and look, the Warriors also caught lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, they got some breaks.
Everything came together. You got Steph at the right number because of his ankles. You got Draymond Green on his second-round pick. I mean, a lot of good things happened. And then you had a Mark Jackson had a relationship with Andre Iguodala, and Iguodala comes in. So, yeah, there can be some unique situations. It's a very interesting question about the Warriors moving forward, because they captured and they've created a culture. But can you sustain it after 5 years? Can they sustain it?
Oh, God, yes.
San Antonio has. Well, I believe that they will, but that's something to be proved, because if you look at Golden State's history, that traditionally is not what they've been.
Well, in the recent history, it is. They're well run now.
Yes, they are.
They're smart people.
But they weren't, and we'll see. We'll see. I mean, if you look at their development.
Okay.
As Steve Kerr and I had this conversation in Vegas during the national team practices last summer. You know, there is a price to be paid when you're drafting 30th every year. And if you look at their roster, name a great young player that they've developed over the last 5 years.
Yeah, you know what? Andrew Wiggins is young. They'll develop him. He'll be better. I don't think you worry about that. I don't think the Yankees worry about player development. If they can do one infielder every 3 or 4 years, they're good.
Okay, but still. Name me. I'm putting you on the spot since he dodged me on the Porzingis one. Name me a young player that the Warriors have developed over the course of their last 5 years.
I don't think it's hurt the franchise. I can't name one. So it shows that it's just not valuable. It doesn't matter. Lakers don't develop.
Wait a minute. No, we just talked about how developing young players is part of the fabric of a franchise.
But once they're developed, Klay and Steph and Draymond, then it's about winning titles. Now it's about adding a free agent piece. They did their developing. They're out of the development stage. They're into the winning games next year, rebooting when everybody's healthy stage.
But you still have to continue to develop young guys, and who's not to say that you got Steph, Klay, and Draymond, and that was just a unique threesome that fit together and did well. I'm not saying that they can't. I'm just saying that the Warriors' history, look, I've lived in the Bay Area. I've seen that team for the last 25 years. They need to prove that they're capable of getting back in the saddle and developing another Steph, developing another Klay, developing another Draymond.
Ja Morant, Zion, you're a GM today. Which do you take next 10 years?
Colin, I'm so glad that I'm now regularly on your show, because we need to have this on the record. I said it last summer already.
What?
I would have built around Ja Morant.
No, I would not have.
He would have been my pick, and he's still my pick. I feel as if, to a certain extent, I've already been proven right.
Oh, really? Have you seen the recent Zion games, which get me to a television on a Tuesday night to watch New Orleans basketball?
Okay, so now it's about what's going to draw you to the...
Well, you don't think...
have you not been watching Ja all year? I mean,
no.
Talk about electric play.
I watch YouTube highlights. I don't watch him. I rush to a TV to watch Zion. Ja Morant's talented, but it doesn't get me. I watch YouTube highlights. I go to a television to watch Zion. That is power.
You wouldn't.
And I know I'm not alone. I know NBA guys are going to a TV to watch Zion because I see the ratings.
But there is an intrigue in terms of what he's going to be. That is at least half of it.
I like Ja.
I do. Look, I like Ja. I like Zion. I hope he succeeds. I hope he stays healthy. But a big part of it is finding out who is he and what is he going to be.
Oh, I know what Zion is.
What is he?
24 points rolling out of bed because no Euro center wants to take a charge. His body is so unique and explosive. He's 24 a night rolling out of bed. He is going to be a massively productive player with a beautiful touch, and watch him score 28 a game by year 2.
You are exactly right. He's going to be an uber productive player. Is he going to be a winning player?
I think he's got unbelievable self-awareness. I think he's bright as heck. I saw it at Duke. He's a leader, not a follower. Everybody said, don't go back. He goes, I love basketball. I'm going back. He's a leader, not a follower.
I agree with all of that.
This makes me sound like I don't like Ja Morant. I do. I just love Zion.
See, the problem that I have is everybody is falling over themselves about Zion being back, and they're ignoring what Ja Morant has done with a Memphis Grizzlies team. I mean, he's made them a playoff. He has made them a playoff team. What Zion is doing is complementing, and I believe he's had he's created solidarity among that team, but is he the driving force of that team? I'm not ready to say that. Ja Morant is the driving force of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Look at the plus minus. I think Zion could have Brandon Ingram's their best player, but Jrue Holiday's a better player. I'm not sure.
I think keep giving me numbers.
That's right. Hey, you know what my middle name is? Data. Not out here just throwing rants out here. It's Data Boy.
I get this. I get the numbers, and the numbers are amazing. The way he fills a box score and how easily he fills it.
That's all I care about. Put the ball in the basket. 31 points. What do I care about?
You don't care about what the numbers are at the end of the game on the scoreboard?
Well, they're not good enough to win now. I mean, good God, what can he do? They don't have a bench.
The Memphis Grizzlies were not supposed to be good enough to win now, and they are. And you know why? Because of that guy.
Well, he's a point guard. He handles the ball more. He's a nice distributor, too.
Good point. Another reason why I would have built around Ja rather than Zion.
All right. It's a good argument, though.
Very good.
Very good stuff today, Bukes. 2 days in a row, I rarely do that. You delivered both days. You get another chance to come on the show. A lot of times I just eliminate guys, take them off the list. You're back. Maybe even tomorrow. Hey, coming up next, Tom Brady's worst nightmare. I swear to you. Plus, Floyd Mayweather is out of his gourd. Rob Parker and I are going to argue about the Astros, all coming up the herd.